So next, I light the fuse. And thankfully, guys, I didn't just stand right next to the cannon and wait for it to go off. I ran and ran away and waited for this thing to ignite. Yes, I'm in the shade now, under the shade of the mango trees. What's up, YouTube? It's Kevin from Kevin in the Philippines. Thanks for clicking on this video. I thought I'd take you on a little walk today as I tell you a story about something that happened to me in the Philippines when I was growing up here as a kid. If you're new to the channel or you've never watched one of my videos before, I grew up here, kind of age 6, and our family moved here. My parents are missionaries here. And this is back in the 80s and 90s, so I've got a lot of stories about things that happened to me when I was a kid here. Today's story takes place actually in the early 90s. It's kind of a fun one, and it's about my adventures with fireworks, or as they say in Tagalog, paputok. And the paputok is the stuff that goes bang. And around New Year's Eve every year, the Philippines goes crazy with fireworks, and they love them. And there's rockets and little firecrackers and big firecrackers, and they light them off and make noise, and it scares animals. I think it even scared me when I was a kid growing up, and sometimes it felt like you were in a war zone because of all the noise and explosions. But back in the 90s, at least in the Philippines, I don't know if they're still around today, but they had some big fireworks, guys. And they had them ranked in categories of stars, is what I remember. So, hello. Hey, we got some guys working. So what I remember is there were 3 stars. There were 5 stars, there were 7 stars, and these were little triangles of very tightly packed, silvery powdered gunpowder. And these things were powerful, you know, and I don't know how close you got to get to like a quarter of a stick of dynamite, but these things, they got close. Anyway, I figured out as a kid that if I were to open up one of these stars, you know, like a 5-star or a 3-star, I'd find the gunpowder inside, and then you could take that gunpowder and do something with it. And as you might expect, guys, every year in the Philippines, people would get hurt messing with these firecrackers, and actually it was kind of sad. You can imagine fireworks and alcohol do not mix. You can imagine a guy who has a cigarette in his mouth who's using it to light a firework, and then he forgets what he's putting back in his mouth after he lights it. It's really hot today, so I brought my paño to dab me every now and then. Another thing that happened when the Filipinos were making these fireworks every year is once in a while in the news we'd hear about a fireworks factory going up in, you know, an explosion or a fire. And it's just really dangerous, you know, all the ingredients that goes into making these things. And I like to think that things have gotten better since the, you know, 30, 40 years that have passed since I was a kid playing with them. But I'm not 100% sure. My girlfriend tells me those big exploding firecrackers like the 3 stars and 5 stars, they're still around and they're still available. So. But anyway, they were trying to enact laws to protect the Filipinos because a lot of them were getting hurt. A little bit of a background about these fireworks. We used to wonder when we were here, you know, what's the deal? Like, why do they want to make all this noise and smoke and commotion? And I think it's rooted in a Chinese tradition. And the Chinese tradition is that the more noise you make and explosions and light and just general commotion, the more you would scare away the evil spirits, right? That would not be able to bother you in the new year. That's the theory, at least. And if you're superstitious and believe in things like that, then you don't want those evil spirits, you know, bothering you in the new year. So you make a bunch of noise and you scare them. Okay, so this particular story is about the time that I decided to leave my house on the morning after New Year's Eve, January 1st. And I was going to have some fun. I was going to go around, walk around my neighborhood. I think I was riding my bike too. And I was going to collect all of the extra fireworks that had been left outside overnight. You know, people were partying, people got drunk, they forgot about it, it's dark outside. And, hold on, make sure this motorcycle can go by here. Oh, two of them. They're like, what is this guy doing? Why is this guy walking down the path with a camera? So I'm collecting all the fireworks, right? And I got really excited because I was going to do something fun with them. And I remember how much gunpowder I collected because I took them all home and I opened them all up. They were laying everywhere, guys, by the way. They were laying all over the sidewalks and the streets. And back then we used to drink Coca-Cola out of a small glass bottle. Not a big glass bottle, but I filled up a small glass Coke bottle full of silvery gunpowder. I know this is not safe and not a good thing to advise anyone else to do. In fact, it's probably pretty dangerous, but I was really having fun back then. If you've watched the video that I made about other dumb things that I did when I was a kid, I was heavily influenced by cartoons, guys, remember? So if you remember Bugs Bunny using gunpowder and cannons and stuff like that, that's running through my mind, okay? Hold on a second. Ooh, warm out here. Okay, so I collect all the gunpowder. I've got the Coke bottle worth of it, and I decided that what I'm going to do with it is build a small cannon and fire this cannon. So I looked around my yard for spare parts of something that I could build the cannon with, and I find some water pipe, you know, like old water pipe. So I fashioned together a small cannon made out of a steel water pipe, and I was even able to cut the length and get the barrel going. I was very industrious back then, guys. And I had a little hole where I could put a fuse in, and I had fuses because I leftover parts from the fireworks. So I had everything I needed, right? And then I decide that I want to prep this cannon, so I take a bunch of the gunpowder and I pour it down the front of the barrel of the cannon. And I'm using like a ramrod, you know, this is like old school cannon stuff. And then I was like, oh, I need some kind of ammunition. So I found some very small round pebbles that I could put in the end of the barrel, and that would be like buckshot, you know. That was the idea. And finally it was all ready. I was pouring it out towards like an empty field. And I was trying to be responsible, even though this was a crazy stunt, another crazy stunt. But I needed a target. I needed something for the cannon to shoot at. So I looked around the yard for that, and I ended up finding a metal wash basin or a wash tub. It was an old one. It was all rusted, laying in the yard. And so I took that wash basin thing and kind of set it up a few feet in front of the cannon, so it would have a little target, or maybe it could catch the pebbles that would come out of it. That was my thinking. And then it was all set and ready to go. So next, I light the fuse. And thankfully, guys, I didn't just stand right next to the cannon and wait for it to go off. I ran out. I ran and ran away and waited for this thing to ignite. And it only took a few moments. And then eventually I heard this huge boom. And it was a success, right? The cannon had fired its first, as you will see, first and only test firing. All right, one more dab. Woo. Oh, I'm about to walk up past a church here, and you can hear them singing in the background. It's kind of really, really sweet. It's like this open air outdoor church. You'll see it in a couple seconds. But if you hear people singing in the background, that's from the church. I always like listening to their voices, actually. It's kind of nice. Okay, where was I? So the cannon has gone off, and I slowly walk back to it, and there's a lot of smoke, right? So I'm waiting for the smoke to clear so I can just see, you know, what happened. Well, the first thing I notice is that the cannon is gone. The cannon had exploded in this one and only test fire, and it was gone. It had, broken apart, and Apparently I was not good at calculating the force and pressure and other scientific data that you would need to construct a properly working cannon. And I'd put way too much gunpowder in it, and this thing had just, become essentially like, a BOMB. And so the cannon was gone, but the next thing that I wanted to check for was, well, what happened to that wash tub that I had set up as a target? And I found it. It had been like tossed across the lawn in front of the cannon. And I picked it up, and I realized that it was punctured, guys, with dozens of small little holes, just like real buckshot. If you've ever seen a shotgun buckshot, what it can do, to something like a thin piece of metal. And I was like, whoa. I was like, this thing really, really worked. And it was actually like a real weapon. And the wash basin was just, completely shot through. And then across the field where the cannon was pointing was actually some houses. And I remember thinking, oh no, like, what if the buckshot continued through the metal and went all the way into those houses? But thankfully nobody ever complained. Anyway, hello. Hello guys. I was really shocked at the power and the force that this cannon generated, and it really, really was way more than I was expecting. But anyway, it ended up working out okay, and no one got hurt, thankfully. And that is the story of, at least one of the stories of my adventures with fireworks in the Philippines. Okay, if there was a lesson here for this wonderful story, life takeaway, it's probably pretty obvious, and that is we should always be careful. Hello. We should always be careful, guys, when dealing with fireworks, especially here in the Philippines, because they can be very strong and very powerful, and you don't want to do anything dumb like I did and have an accident, because it could have been a lot worse, right? What if I hadn't have run away? What if I just stood right next to it and watched it when it went off? Okay, I'm gonna try to wrap this up here. Okay, yeah, just be responsible. It can be dangerous. Don't mix alcohol and fireworks, guys. Basic stuff. Be smart. Okay. All right. Leave a comment below if you ever had a crazy adventure or a story involving fireworks, maybe when you were growing up as a kid. What kind of crazy thing did you do? I don't know, did you try to make a cannon like I did? Did you blow up something? Hopefully you didn't hurt anybody or any animals or anything, but leave a comment below if you did something. I would love to hear other people's stories of things that happened to them when they were a kid involving fireworks. Okay, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed taking a little walk with me here in the Philippines. I'm going to keep posting more videos because this is kind of fun telling the stories. And if you like this one, do me a favor, give it a like. I really appreciate it, and it helps my channel grow. Consider subscribing if you want to hear more fun stories about life in the Philippines. And I think I will leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, and mabuhay. Bye.